McGuire AFB McGuire, the common name of the McGuire unit of Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst, is a United States Air Force base located in Burlington County, New Jersey, United States, approximately 16.1 miles south-southeast of Trenton. McGuire is under the jurisdiction of the Air Mobility Command. It was consolidated with two adjoining U.S. Army and Navy facilities to become part of Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst, JBMDL, on October 1, 2009, but remains commonly known by McGuire or McGuire AFB in 2014. The McGuire Air Force Base census-designated place is located in portions of both New Hanover Township and North Hanover Township. As of the 2010 United States Census, the McGuire Air Force Base CDP had a total population of 3,710, of which 737 were in New Hanover Township and 2,973 were in North Hanover Township. Overview: the host unit at McGuire AFB is the 87th Air Base Wing, United States Air Force Expeditionary Center, AMC. The 87 ABW provides installation management to all of JBMDL. The wing also provides mission-ready, expeditionary airmen to support unified combatant commanders in ongoing military operations. The wing consists of more than 3,100 officers, enlisted, and civilian personnel from the Air Force, Army and Navy. The 87th Air Base Wing is commanded by Colonel James Hodges. Its Command Chief Master Sergeant is Chief Master Sergeant Philip K. Robinson. McGuire originated in 1941 as Fort Dix Army Air Force Base. Closed briefly after World War II, it reopened in 1948 as McGuire Air Force Base. The base was named after Major Thomas B. McGuire, Jr., Medal of Honor recipient, and the second leading ace in American history. Units: the 305th Air Mobility Wing along with the 21st Expeditionary Mobility Task Force, 108th Air Refueling Wing, 621st Contingency Response Wing, and the 514th Air Mobility Wing, has supported every major type of air mobility mission over the past 15 years. The following units are assigned to McGuire AFB: 87th Air Base Wing, 305th Air Mobility Wing, 305th Maintenance Group, 305th Medical Group, 514th Air Mobility Wing, 108th Air Refueling Wing. McGuire, the only base in both the Air Mobility Command and the entire U.S. Air Force, hosting 3 AMC gained flying wings of the regular Air Force Reserve and Air National Guard. McGuire is also host to United States Air Force Expeditionary Center, physically located on JBMDL-Dix, and is a tenant unit of Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst. 621st Contingency Response Wing, 1. 373rd Training Squadron, Detachment 1, AMC Test and Evaluation Squadron. McGuire hosts the flying needs of its mission partners on JBMDL. Air Force and civilian AMC contracted aircraft use McGuire's 2 runways to facilitate this mission. Many hundreds of thousands of Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marine Corps personnel have left the United States for overseas locations from McGuire AFB. Airplanes from McGuire have provided the flyovers for Philadelphia Eagles games and Major League Baseball All-Star and World Series games played in Philadelphia at the end of the national anthem. These same planes were also responsible for the Super Bowl XLVII flyover and missing man formation, which came at the end of opera star Renee Fleming's rendition of the national anthem. History: Major Thomas Buchanan McGuire, Jr. McGuire Air Force Base was established as Fort Dix Airport in 1937 and first opened to military aircraft on January 9, 1941. On January 13, 1948, the United States Air Force renamed the facility McGuire Air Force Base in honor of Major Thomas Buchanan McGuire, Jr., Medal of Honor recipient and second-place flying ace of World War II. Major McGuire died on January 7, 1945 when his P-38 Lightning spun out of control and crashed on Negros Island in the Philippines as he attempted to aid his wingman during an aerial dogfight. World War II. Flight operations to support Camp Dix at an adjacent airfield took place as early as 1926. Facilities and runways to support an air mission began in 1937 as a Civilian Conservation Corps project. This was on newly acquired land for the Great Army Air Force's expansion approved by the Roosevelt administration. This nascent airfield and wooden structures was named Rudd Field. To meet the requirements for a possible World War, Rudd Field was renamed Fort Dix Army Air Base in 1939, and underwent massive expansion from 1940–1941. Runways constructed consisted of 3 concrete-surfaced, 7100X150, NS, 7100X150, NESW, 5400X150, EW, and 1 macadam-surfaced, 8100X150, NWC. The base had its first permanent Army Air Force occupant in November 1941 when the 59th Observation Group took up station on November 14. Initially during 1941 a Euro-42 the group operated a wide range of aircraft, including the BC-1A, L-59, O-46, O-47, O-49 Vigilant, and O-52 Owl, engaging in anti-submarine patrols along the East Coast. After the United States entry into World War II, Fort Dix Army Air Base was used as a training facility for numerous service units under 1st Air Force. Once organized and prepared for overseas duty, these units provided support and technical sections for the group requirements as a whole: flying control, ordnance, airfield security, firefighting, post-exchange, special services, mail, transportation, communications, radar, gunnery instruction, personal equipment, and weather. The service group also had its own mess section. The service group had approximately 30 officers and 300 to 400 enlisted men. This training continued until 1944. In late 1942, Army Air Force's Anti-Submarine Command took up tenant status at Fort Dix AFB. The 378th Bombardment Group patrolled with a mission to search for German U-boats in the coastal waters of the Atlantic coast and to fly aerial coverage of friendly convoys off the East Coast with Douglas O-46 and North American O-47 light observation planes. In August 1943, this mission was turned over to the United States Navy. Air Technical Service Command began using the base in 1943 overhauling, servicing and preparing aircraft for overseas shipment to North Africa and to the United Kingdom. This mission continued until the end of the war in 1945, then received returning aircraft from Europe and arranged their shipment to operational bases or to storage locations. Part of this mission was the temporary basing of returning combat groups from the overseas combat theaters and, with the Army Service Forces coordinating their inactivation. Fort Dix Army Air Base was phased down in the fall of 1945 and was placed on temporary inactive status on February 15, 1945. Which changed to inactive status on March 1, 1946. Jurisdiction of the base was transferred to Strategic Air Command at Andrews Field, Maryland on August 1, 1947, the base remaining in inactive status. United States Air Force, Strategic Air Command, Fort Dix Army Air Base was taken out of inactive status and activated as a primary installation on August 29, 1948. Initially reactivated under Strategic Air Command, the facility underwent a modernization program to convert the World War II base into a base for post-war jet aircraft. In addition, support facilities were upgraded from World War II temporary wooden structures to permanent structures for long-term use. SAC activated the 91st Strategic Reconnaissance Wing at the newly redesignated McGuire Air Force Base on November 10, 1948. The 91st SRW was a long-range photographic reconnaissance unit equipped with a mixture of RB-17 Flying Fortresses and RB-29 Super Fortresses equipped with wide variety of photographic reconnaissance and mapping cameras in the bomb bays. It moved to Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, on October 1, 1949. Air Defense Command. With the departure of the 91st SRW, control of McGuire AFB was reassigned to Continental Air Command. CON-AC assigned the base to Air Defense Command, at the time an operating agency of CON-AC. ADC took jurisdiction of the base on January 1, 1951 with its re-establishment as a separate major command. The 52D Fighter Wing, all-weather was assigned to the base, being moved from Mitchell Field, Long Island on October 4, 1949. Equipped with very long-range F-82 twin Mustangs, the 52D Fighter Group, all-weather engaged in interceptor training missions against SAC B-29 and B-50 Superfortress bombers simulating air defense missions against incoming Soviet Tupolev T-4 bombers. The 52D remained at McGuire until February 6, 1952, when it was inactivated along with the F-82s. The twin Mustangs of the 52D FW were replaced by the ADC 4709th Defense Wing on February 1, 1952. Under the Eastern Air Defense Force, the 4709th DW controlled interceptor squadrons at McGuire, as well as at Suffolk County AFB and Stewart AFB, New York, and Dover AFB, Delaware. Interceptor squadrons stationed at McGuire were the 2D Fighter Interceptor Squadron and 5th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. These were replaced in 1955 by the 332D Fighter Interceptor Squadron and 539th Fighter Interceptor Squadron. These squadrons flew a variety of ADC interceptors in the 1950s, starting with the F-94 Starfire in 1952, upgrading to the F-84 Thunderjet in 1953, and finally the interceptor F-86D Sabre later in 1953. Military Air Transport Service took over jurisdiction of McGuire AFB on July 1, 1954 and took over the flight line of McGuire in 1956, with the ADC interceptors being reassigned. Air Defense Command became a tenant organization on the base, with the 4709th ADW being redesignated as first the 4621st Air Defense Wing on April 1, 1956, and shortly afterwards as the New York Air Defense Sector on October 1, 1956 under the 26th Air Division. The NYADS was in large part responsible for one of the foundational projects of the computer era, the development of the SAGE air defense system, from its first test at Bedford, Massachusetts, in 1951, to the installation of the first operational data center at McGuire AFB in 1957, becoming operational on July 1, 1958. The SAGE system was a network linking Air Force General surveillance radar stations into a centralized center for air defense, intended to provide early warning and response for a Soviet nuclear attack. Developed by Massachusetts Institute of Technology engineers and scientists, SAGE monitored North American skies for possible attack by manned aircraft and missiles for 25 years. The heart of the system, the ANFSQ-7 computer, was the first computer to have an internal memory composed of magnetic cores, thousands of tiny ferrite rings that served as reversible electromagnets. SAGE also introduced computer-driven displays, online terminals, time-sharing, high-reliability computation, digital signal processing, digital transmission over telephone lines, digital track-while-scan, digital simulation, computer networking, and duplex computing. The NYADS was reassigned from 26th AD on April 1, 1966 to 1st Air Force, until September 30, 1968 when both the sector was inactivated along with DC-01, when budget restrictions along with when technology advances allowed the Air Force to shut down many SAGE data centers. The SAGE network, however, remained active until 1983. In 1959, Air Defense Command deployed the CIM-10 Bomark surface-to-air missile to McGuire AFB. The Bomark was the only surface-to-air missile ever deployed by the United States Air Force. All other U.S. land-based SAMs were and are under the control of the United States Army. The Bomark site was located 4 miles ESE of the main base 40 degree 02 euro squared 06 euro cubed N 074 degree 26 euro squared 29 euro cubed W in a separate facility, and was manned by the 46th Air Defense Missile Squadron, activated on January 1, 1959. 2 models of the Bomark were deployed to McGuire, the liquid-fueled CIM-10A, and later the CIM-10B. The supersonic Bomark missiles were the first long-range anti-aircraft missiles in the world, and were equipped with a W-40 nuclear warhead. The site at McGuire went operational in 1959 under the NYADS. Within a year of becoming operational, A Bombardier A with a nuclear warhead caught fire on June 7, 1960 following the explosive rupture of its onboard helium tank. While the missile's explosives didn't detonate, the heat melted the warhead, releasing plutonium which the fire crews then spread around. The Air Force and the Atomic Energy Commission cleaned up the site and covered it with concrete. Fortunately, this was the only major incident involving the weapons system. The Bombardier site remained in operation under successor organizations after the inactivation of the NYADS. After its closure in 1972, the accident resulted in the site remaining off-limits to the present day, primarily due to low levels of plutonium contamination. Due to the accident, the McGuire complex has never been sold or converted to other uses and remains in Air Force ownership, making it the most intact site of the 8 in the United States. It has been nominated to the National Register of Historic Places. With the closure of the Bombardier site, the by then renamed Aerospace Defense Command ended its activities at McGuire AFB. The large Sage DC-01 blockhouse is now the headquarters of the 621st Contingency Response Wing. Strategic Airlift. On July 1, 1954, Military Air Transport Service took over jurisdiction of McGuire Air Force Base. Through its successor organizations, Military Airlift Command in 1966 and since 1992 as Air Mobility Command, the primary mission of McGuire has remained the strategic airlift of personnel and equipment worldwide. MAT's activities at the base began on July 1, 1954 with the 1611th Air Transport Wing being activated. The 1611th ATW flew primarily C-118 liftmaster transports worldwide throughout its existence. It received C-135 Stratolifters in 1962 and was upgraded from a medium to a heavy transport wing. It supported Air Force Reserve Associate units beginning in 1961. The wing also operated aerial port and port of embarkation for the Northeast United States, primarily for European flights. Tenant units of MATS at McGuire were the Air Weather Service and Air Rescue Service Squadrons. On June 1, 1955, MATS moved the Eastern Transport Air Force to McGuire from Westover AFB, Massachusetts when SAC and 8th Air Force took over. EASTF was one of 3 components of MATS Worldwide Airlift Force, controlling all Air Force strategic airlift operations between the Mississippi River and the east coast of Africa and in Central and South America. On January 1, 1966 MATS was discontinued and its assets were assigned to the new Military Airlift Command. The 1611th ATW was discontinued and its mission taken over by the 438th Military Airlift Wing. EASTF was redesignated as the 21st Air Force. 21st AF continued the mission of EASTF, controlling MAC airlift wings at Dover AFB, Delaware and Charleston AFB, South Carolina and well as McGuire. Depending upon command organization at different times, airlift and airlift support units in Europe, the Azores, Bermuda and throughout the southeastern United States also reported to 21st AF. The 438th MAW completed the replacement of the prop-driven transports of MATS with the new Lockheed C-141 Starlifter. For the next 30 years, the 438th MAW and transported military cargo, mail and passengers worldwide, particularly in the eastern United States, Atlantic, European and Mediterranean areas, with frequent special missions to the Arctic, the Antarctic, South America, the Far East, and to Southeast Asia combat areas during the Vietnam War. From 1967, McGuire was the best-known C-141 Starlifter base in the world, possessing up to a quarter of MAC's fleet of that aircraft until its retirement in 1994. On December 1, 1991, the wing was redesignated as the 438th Airlift Wing and implemented the Objective Wing Organization. On June 1, 1992, it was assigned to the new Air Mobility Command. Modern era, on October 1, 1994, the 438th Airlift Wing was inactivated, being replaced at McGuire by the 305th Air Mobility Wing which was transferred from Grissom AFB, Indiana when Grissom was realigned via BRAC action to the Air Force Reserve Command. The C-141 was retired in 2004, being replaced by the C-17 Globemaster III. The 21st Air Force, coupled with the stand-up of the 621st Air Mobility Operations Group and its later reorganization to the 621st Contingency Response Wing, partnered with the 305 AMW and spearheaded virtually every contingency over the past 14 years, from Operation Joint Endeavour in the Balkans to Operation Iraqi Freedom. McGuire itself, through its support organizations, has also been a key component in the transport of materials and personnel to global crisis points. In 1999, McGuire served as the lead staging base for the evacuation of Kosovo refugees in Operation Open Arms. McGuire was the rally and staging point for FEMA operations in New York City after the 11 September 2001 attacks. In 2005, the base lent key support for Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. On October 1, 2003, the 21st Air Force was redesignated as the 21st Expeditionary Mobility Task Force, reflecting its expanded mission due to the outbreak of the global war on terrorism. In 2006, McGuire AFB hosted over 1,800 Lebanese Americans evacuated from the battles there between Israel and Hezbollah insurgents. In 2008, McGuire assumed responsibility for the no-fail Red Ball Express aerial port mission, supplying efforts in enduring freedom. Today the men and women of McGuire AFB continue to be at the forefront of operations, with regular deployments of airlift and aerial refueling aircraft as well as support elements for combat operations. McGuire hosted a rapidly assembled Stratcom Joint Task Force satellite recovery team with no prior notice in February 2008, winning praise for its flexibility and support. Team McGuire remains engaged in providing direct combat support to 2 regional conflicts and provided personnel, resources and aircraft. Due to a Department of Defense initiative, McGuire will be the lead service in the first Tri-Service Joint Super Base, combining its infrastructure support with the support of Fort Dixon Naval Air Engineering Station Lakehurst. Additionally, the 2005 Base Realignment and Closure Commission identified several units to be added to Team McGuire over the next few years, including contingents from every service branch. Construction of many new facilities, a beautification effort, and new privately owned contract family housing, make McGuire one of the premier Air Force installations. Major commands to which assigned. McGuire put on temporary inactive status, February 15, 1946. Inactive status, March 1946. Transferred to jurisdiction of Selfridge Field, Michigan, May 1, 1947. Transferred to jurisdiction of Andrews AFB, Maryland, August 1, 1947. Transferred from jurisdiction of Andrews Field to Topeka AFB, Kansas, 16 August 28, 1948. Reactivated as primary installation, August 29, 1948. During inactive status, field remained under Major Command jurisdiction. Major units assigned, references for history. Introduction, Major Commands and Major Units, Aircraft flown, hazardous waste. In July 2007, the United States Environmental Protection Agency issued an order to the U.S. military to clean up the contaminants at McGuire AFB. Areas requiring cleanup include landfills, fire training areas, pesticide mixing shops, fuel storage and leak areas, underground tanks and fuel lines, a PCB spill site, and a wastewater treatment plant sludge disposal area. Geography. McGuire AFB is located at 40°01 euro squared 41 euro cubed and 74°35 euro squared 16 euro cubed W. According to the United States Census Bureau, the CDP had a total area of 5.364 square miles, of which 5.359 square miles of it is land and 0.005 square miles of it is water. Demographics, Census 2010. At the 2010 United States Census, there were 3,710 people, 1,026 households, and 891.6 families residing in the CDP. The population density was 692.3 per square mile. There were 1,535 housing units at an average density of 286.5 per square mile. The racial makeup of the CDP was 69.08% white, 16.23% black or African American, 0.46% Native American, 2.64% Asian, 0.67% Pacific Islander, 3.77% from other races, and 7.14% from two or more races. Hispanics or Latinos of any race were 13.64% of the population. There were 1,026 households, of which 67.2% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 75.4% were married couples living together, 7.2% had a female householder with no husband present, and 13.1% were non-families. 7.5% of all households were made up of individuals, and 0.2% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 3.27 and the average family size was 3.49. In the CDP, 36.5% of the population were under the age of 18, 25.2% from 18 to 24, 33.3% from 25 to 44, 4.6% from 45 to 64 and 0.5% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 22.2 years. For every 100 females there were 120.8 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 135.9 males. Census 2000, as of the 2000 United States Census there were 6,478 people, 1,498 households, and 1,466 families residing in the base. The population density was 1,208.3 km². There were 1,652 housing units at an average density of 308.1 km². The racial makeup of the base was 69.3% white, 18.9% African American, 0.7% Native American, 2.8% Asian, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 3.2% from other races, and 5.0% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 8.7% of the population. There were 1,498 households out of which 79.4% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 89.0% were married couples living together, 4.9% had a female householder with no husband present, and 2.1% were non-families. 1.9% of all households were made up of individuals and none had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 3.51 and the average family size was 3.53. In the base the population was spread out with 35.6% under the age of 18, 22.8% from 18 to 24, 39.9% from 25 to 44, 1.6% from 45 to 64 and 0.1% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 22 years. For every 100 females there were 130.9 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 153.3 males. The median income for a household in the base was $36,347, and the median income for a family was $36,136. Males had a median income of $22,000 versus $21,659 for females. The per capita income for the base was $12,364. About 5.5% of families and 6.0% of the population were below the poverty line, including 6.7% of those under age 18 and none of those age 65 or over. Education. The North Hanover Township School District serves children in public school for grades CAR Euro 6 from North Hanover Township and from McGuire AFB. Schools are located on the base and in Jacobstown. The Northern Burlington County Regional School District serves children in public school for grades 7 through 12. Students are served from Chesterfield Township, Mansfield Township, North Hanover Township and Springfield Township, along with children of USAF personnel based at McGuire AFB. Transportation. New Jersey Route 68 links the base to U.S. Route 206 near the latter's interchanges with the New Jersey Turnpike, U.S. Route 130 and Interstate 195. New Jersey Transit provides service to and from Philadelphia on the 317 route. See also: New Jersey World War II Army Airfields, list of USAF Aerospace Defense Command General Surveillance Radar Stations, references. Bibliography. External links: Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst official website, T. McGuire webpage, McGuire Air Euro Retiree Activities Office webpage, Air Mobility Command official website, The Last Great Ace book written about Major Thomas B. McGuire written by Charles A. Martin, FAA Airport Diagrammer, PDF, effective November 13, 2014, FAA Terminal Procedures for WRI, effective November 13, 2014, Resources for this U.S. military airport, FAA Airport Information for WRI, AirNav Airport Information for KWRI, ASN Accident History for WRI, NOAA NWS Latest Weather Observations, Sky Vector Aeronautical Chart for KWRI.